The invitation. Elliot Graves wasn't afraid of ghosts. He built his career off proving that the things people feared most, the shadows in the corner, the whispers in the dark, were nothing more than the overactive imagination at play. His YouTube channel, Grave Encounters, had over 1 million subscribers, each one eager for his latest exploration of a so-called haunted site. So when a mysterious email arrived in his inbox with the subject line, "Spend the night at Blackwood House. If you dare," he couldn't resist. The email was brief, no sender's name, no explanation, just an address, a warning, "Do not stay past midnight," and an attachment, a grainy black and white photo of a woman standing in the attic window, her face distorted by time and decay. The address belonged to the old Blackwood house, the decayed Victorian mansion at the end of Blackwood Lane. Locals claimed the house had been abandoned since 1977, the night the Wright family vanished without a trace. No bodies were ever found, just their dinner still warm on the table and the front door wide open. Elliot had heard the stories. Every small town had its boogeyman after all, but he wasn't afraid. He should have been. The house remembers. Elliot arrived at 8:43 p.m., a full 2 hours before midnight. His equipment, a night vision camera, EMF detector, and digital recorder, was set up within minutes. The house was exactly as described. Rotting, silent, waiting. Inside, the air was thick with decay, and the walls were covered in old wallpaper, peeling like dead skin. The entryway led to a grand staircase, its once beautiful wooden steps now warped and splintered. A chandelier hung above, its crystals coated in dust. Something about the house felt wrong. Not the usual creepy old building kind of wrong, but a deep, unsettling presence, like it was breathing. Elliot muttered into his microphone, "If anyone's here, make yourself known." Silence. Then the temperature dropped. He exhaled, watching his breath form a mist in the air. His EMF detector spiked, flashing bright red. Something was here. The attic. By 10:30 p.m., Elliot had explored most of the house with little to show except flickering lights and the occasional creak of the floorboards. Then he found the attic door. It was at the end of a narrow hallway, slightly ajar, as if inviting him inside. Elliot pushed the door open, his flashlight illuminating the dust-filled space. Old trunks and forgotten furniture were scattered around, covered in thick sheets. But what caught his attention was the massive cracked mirror against the far wall. It was too clean. The rest of the attic was coated in dust, but the mirror was pristine, as if someone had been watching themselves in it recently. Then he saw her, in the reflection, standing right behind him. A woman in a black, tattered dress, her hollow eyes locked onto his. She was smiling. Elliot spun around. Nothing. He turned back to the mirror. She was closer now. The whispering started then. Faint at first, like a distant voice carried by the wind. It grew louder, overlapping, urgent. Then the rocking chair across the room began to move. Back and forth. Back and forth. A cold hand gripped his shoulder. Midnight calls. Elliot ran. He didn't care about the cameras, the footage, or the fact that millions would call him a fraud. He bolted down the stairs, heading for the door. Except, it wasn't there. The hallway stretched longer than it should have, the walls shifting, twisting. Every door he tried led back to the attic. His watch read 11:59 p.m. The whispers turned to laughter. Mocking. Guttural. Then, bang! A door slammed behind him. Footsteps echoed on the stairs. Running. Bare feet pounding against wood. Coming straight for him. He never saw her coming. The last footage from Elliot's camera showed him turning, his eyes wide in pure terror, before the screen cut to black. Aftermath: Elliot Graves was reported missing the next morning. Police found his car parked outside Blackwood House, keys still in the ignition. His camera equipment was discovered inside the house, recording. Except everything after midnight was corrupted beyond recovery. The footage before midnight, however, captured one last disturbing detail. At 11:58 p.m., the attic mirror had no reflection of Elliot at all. Just the woman in black, staring back, and smiling. Final warning. The house remains abandoned. The attic door still swings open on windy nights. Some say if you stand outside at midnight, you can hear Elliot's voice whispering from inside, begging, "Don't stay past midnight." But if you answer back, she will find you. The Return. It has been 10 years since Elliot Graves disappeared inside Blackwood House. 10 years since the whispers stopped. Since the town of Ravenshade tried to forget. But some mysteries refused to stay buried. Tonight, Luke Carter, a young filmmaker obsessed with Elliot's final video, is going to step inside Blackwood House. And this time, the house isn't just waiting. It's watching. Distant, faint whisper. "We see you." The lost footage. Luke Carter sits at his desk, headphones on, staring at his computer screen. The glow of Elliot Graves' final corrupted footage illuminates his face. The footage distorts, static crackling before revealing a brief, unseen moment. Elliot, pale and trembling, staring into the attic mirror. Elliot, whispering, "If anyone finds this, don't let it happen again." A shadow moves behind him. His reflection lingers a second longer than it should before the video cuts to static. Luke pauses the footage, rewinds, heart pounding. The reflection, it smiles, but Elliot never did. Luke, muttering, "What the hell?" He exhales sharply, determination in his eyes. The cursor hovers over an email titled, "Blackwood House, coordinates attached." He clicks it open. Email text. The mirror is still there. Midnight awaits. Luke stares at the screen before grabbing his camera. He knows what he has to do. Distant creak from the hallway outside his room. He freezes, then shakes it off. Entering the house. Camera clicks on, heavy breathing as Luke films himself at the front porch. Luke, whispering, "All right, guys, this is it. Blackwood House. 10 years ago, Elliot Graves vanished inside. No one ever found his body, or his camera. Faint, scratching sound from inside the house. A shadow shifts behind one of the windows, just out of sight. Luke. Locals say the place is cursed, but I'm not leaving until I find out what really happened. Door creaks open on its own. Luke exhales sharply, stepping inside. Inside, the air is thick, suffocating. The furniture is still covered in dust, the grand staircase sagging with age. But something is different. The house feels awake. Footsteps echo from upstairs, but Luke is alone. A whisper too close. "You shouldn't have come." The mirror still watches. Luke reaches the attic, flashlight flickering. Luke narrating. This is where they found Elliot's camera, where he saw her, the woman in the mirror. Luke approaches the cracked mirror against the far wall. He hesitates. Faint, distorted whisper. "He's here." Luke freezes, eyes wide as he turns the camera toward the mirror. At first, it's just his reflection. Then, a shape emerges behind him. A shadow. A figure, watching. Luke, shaky whisper. "No. No way." The figure moves closer. Its face is Elliot Graves. But Elliot is not human anymore. Sudden loud bang. Luke spins around. Nothing is there. But in the mirror, Elliot's reflection is grinning. Luke stumbles back, heart pounding. "Luke, this isn't real." The reflection moves, but Luke hasn't. The mirror Elliot tilts his head, watching him like prey. Then, Elliot reaches out. The glass shatters outward. Luke screams, camera crashes to the ground. Distant, slow footsteps approach. The recording cuts to black. Midnight comes again. The camera flickers back on. Luke is inside the mirror now, looking out into the attic, trapped. Distorted breathing, heavy and slow. A new voice whispers from behind him. Soft, female, familiar. The woman in black. Woman, whispering. He shouldn't have come back. The screen flickers. Luke's reflection vanishes. The last thing seen is the rocking chair moving on its own. Final static cut. Fade to black. But just before the screen goes dark, something whispers, almost inaudibly, "Help me." The investigation reopens. Weeks later, a local news report covers Luke's disappearance. News anchor. Another disappearance at Blackwood House has left the small town of Ravenshade shaken. Filmmaker Luke Carter, 26, was last seen entering the house to investigate the decade-old case of Elliot Graves. His abandoned camera was found inside, but no sign of Luke. Footage from Luke's camera is shown. The last frame is frozen, the mirror reflecting something that wasn't in the room. Cut to an interview with Detective Sarah Holloway, assigned to the case. Detective Holloway, we've reviewed the footage. There are anomalies, audio distortions, movements that don't match the laws of physics. It's like the house itself is interfering. Cut back to the newscaster. News anchor. Locals continue to believe that the house is cursed. And now, with 2 disappearances linked to Blackwood House, many are asking who or what is waiting inside. Final cut. Black screen. Distorted whispering. They say if you stand outside Blackwood House at midnight, you'll hear Luke's voice. Faint, pleading whisper. Don't look in the mirror. If you enjoyed this chilling tale and want more spooky stories, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep these chilling stories coming. So go ahead, smash that like button and subscribe for more tales that will haunt your nights. Make sure to click the notification icon so you never miss an update on the next terrifying mystery. Help keep the legends alive by sharing this story. And remember, some doors should never be opened